I'm joined by Martyn Ford ahead of his big fight on April the 2nd. First of all, Martyn, how are things going? And are you still on court, like on board for that date?
Yeah, buddy, things are going great in my camp. Much better than what his are. I'm feeling light. I'm feeling lively. I'm hungry, energetic. I'm ready to do some damage, to be honest.
Yeah. So is everything, obviously that date's still planned to go ahead? There's been no hiccups so far and everything's okay?
I hope so. That's what I'm planning on.
Cool. So I wanted to start first of all by, obviously we all know about your incredible fitness plan, your training. I wanted to ask about what kind of a typical week consists for you at the moment. Kind of, yeah. How's it going?
I mean, for me, the time that I'm spending on training hasn't really changed in what I've done for many years. I've just adapted the stimulus. So we are probably 4 or 5 hours a day training at the moment, and then rehab 3 times a week. I've got physio RC, doing lots of work on just keeping me going forward. You know what I mean? And making that transition into lifting weights and now going into an explosive sport and movement has been one there's been a few hiccups in a sense that the body needs time to adjust and to move forward, dropping the weight, changing the style of training and also the amount of anaerobic training and aerobic training that I hadn't been accustomed to for a few years was something that I knew was going to be not an issue, but I knew there's going to be some hurdles along the road that we'd have to overcome. So I've tried to approach it as sensibly as possible, taking into consideration my start point, my age, which hasn't really been a hindrance at the moment. I do feel like I'm as good now as I was when I was 21. So I'm pleasantly surprised with that. But everything's going as well as it could. It really is. It's going as well as it could. And I think the reason for that is because I've always loved fitness. I've always been around fitness. Yes, the last 10, 15 years has been more about moving weights and the external look of what fitness can bring rather than the actual ability to perform. But my roots in fitness have always been sports, whether that be cricket, football, rugby, whatever it be. It's always been about competitive sports, and inbuilt in myself is second place has never been good enough. So if I approach something, I approach it with 100% focus, energy, determination to win, regardless of who the opposition is. I want to win.
Yeah. So I know obviously you said yourself there, I knew before about enjoying cricket and stuff like that. How are you finding the boxing aspect of things? Are you enjoying that? Is this something you'd want to continue beyond the Hulk fight?
Oh man, I'm loving it. Like absolutely loving it. I've always been interested in fighting. Do you know what I mean? Whether it be MMA, whether it be jiu-jitsu, wrestling, ground, whatever it is, there's always been something in me. And I feel like a lot of red-blooded males always just want that part. You can't beat having a tussle. Do you know what I mean? There's something about it that gives you this energy, that gives you this, it wakes you up. Whether you win, lose or draw, it's so refreshing to get in there and just have it out with someone in a controlled environment. I'm not suggesting you go and do this in car parks, but I think the development of MMA and boxing coming back into the limelight and people actually starting to appreciate what it does for people internally, not just externally. I think that's what's grasped me. I loved cricket back in the day, and I was good. I was a good player, and I missed having that competitive side. So now having the ability to translate some of the skills from my cricket days into the movement patterns of the boxing, and already having that competitive edge, and also having a bit of a history when it comes to other aspects of fighting in martial arts, it's been a nice learning curve. I think without a shadow of a doubt, this will be the introduction of a new era for me. Whether it goes from boxing, potentially MMA after, there's already stuff in the pipeline for both. But I'm just focusing on this one fight. I do realize my strengths and my weaknesses. I'm 23 stone still. Do you know what I mean? So I'm bouncing around with a lot of weight, which really, does it lend itself to being to being a boxer? Potentially not. Does it lend itself to be dangerous and a horrible person inside a cage? Maybe so. So it's one of them ones where it's like, I love the boxing. I love the boxing element. But in the back of my mind, I'm still thinking 1, 2, shoot, take him down, elbow his face, break his knees. And you can't do that in boxing. But I do love I'm falling in love with the sport, and I'm falling in love with watching the professionals move around and watching how they create traps, create space, the body movement, and all of that. For me, it's kind of like going back to school, and I just love fitness. So having the opportunity to work 6 days a week with a professional coach, and then I'm doing my fitness on the side of that with my rehab, it's just, for me, it's like heaven. It really is. Like, I'm absolutely absorbed by it.
So moving on then, say you said about your boxing, you love working, about setting traps and all that kind of stuff. I just wanted to ask about sparring. Have you been sparring, and kind of, is there anyone of note you've kind of sparred with as of yet?
I've done sparring. We've been sparring for last week now. As far as anyone of note of names, no. For me, the importance of sparring is still that educational process. And I don't want to put pressure on myself of having to spar at a good level, having to record the sparring, to be honest. I'm quite a private person where I'm not an idiot and I'm not naive to the fact that to go through a journey, you've got to make mistakes to get better. You can't just all of a sudden decide to be a boxer and think you're going to be a great boxer. Me doing this fight isn't about me going, I want to fight Tyson Fury after. Me doing this fight is going, I want to scrap someone. I'm really going to enjoy it. And then I want to go and scrap someone else and create that energy and that buzz about just a normal person saying, let's step into the ring and see what we can do. Like, push yourself, take that risk. I don't want to focus on the negative aspects of this celebrity boxing thing. I want to focus on the positivity where you can show people that it doesn't matter what age you are, where you are in life, what you've got to win, what you've got to lose. There's always challenges out there. And if you've got the balls to take the challenge on, the internal reward thereafter is fantastic. And for me, I had this phenomenal opportunity to fight an absolute douchebag that's going to be an easy victory, right? So there's no pressure. I can enjoy the experience. I can practice what it's like on that big stage. And then I genuinely want to go and fight someone that can fight, not a world champion, just someone who's trained to a good level where I can push myself. So for the sparring, for me, I'm doing the same thing. I'm trying to get people that are better than where I am now, but not too good that I don't learn. Because an element of learning is also getting victory. And if you're going to fight someone that's way too advanced, you're just going to get disheartened. So it's kind of finding good fighters who aren't too good, but aren't too bad, and getting that balance. And that's where I'm at the moment. I've got guys that I'm sparring with who I know, who I trust, who we can go in there and we can move around and I can get hit, but they're not loading the shots. And for me, that's really important at this stage, because I'd rather learn by being hit, but still being safe in a sense where it's right. Okay, that guard should have been there. That foot should have moved there. I should have got out of the way. There's no real element of learning at this stage and just getting beat up. All right. So I'm taking sensible approaches. I'm pushing the limits each week. But I don't want to try and sprint before I can run. I have opportunities to go and work with some phenomenal boxers, which 100% will be taking up, kickboxers and boxers. But like I said, I'm on a great journey at the moment where my confidence is building, my fitness is building, my skills are building. And this has got more longevity for me than just a fight on the April the 2nd. That for me is another training session, if I'm completely honest. But a training session that everyone's going to get to see what I've been working on for 6 months. And I want people to be shocked. I want people to be impressed. And I want people to talk about it and almost be taken back.
So coming on from that then, you've said obviously there you've had offers from, but is there anyone you've received kind of advice from ahead of this kind of debut? Is there anyone you've spoken to who's helped kind of prepare you almost mentally for this?
Yeah, I mean, for the last 6 to 12 months, I've got some phenomenal friends in my life. Boxing wise, got Dillian, who I speak to on and off quite a bit. You know, he for me is a massive inspiration because he's always been that kind of rough, ready, in your face, hungry. He really fights for the fight, and that's what I love. I love the energy around it, and he's someone that I can look to and find quite a lot of similarities. Rico, a great friend of mine, Glory world champion heavyweight kickboxer. He's on the phone nearly every day. Like, I should be in Holland now, but I've got quite a few things going on. So that and COVID, I'm hopefully get there in a couple of weeks and get some work done there. Like I said, I've got legit professional world champions giving me time, giving me advice, and that I can go and train with and talk to. Fraser Clark, and the lad that I've been speaking to recently, down in Loughborough, he's on about coming down there and doing some work. You know, all of these immense athletes, like way better than where I would be in their profession. But the energy and the experience I can take from them and then implement into my own fight game. You know, I'm going to be bringing something to the table it's not professional, but it'll be fun. It's going to be one hell of an, like, you know, the fireworks and the explosion. You got to remember, I'm 23 stone. I'm moving around. I'm 6'6", 6'7". I'm powerful. We're gonna bring some fireworks to the table. It might not be technical, but it'll be fueled with passion, hunger, and aggression, and it's gonna be exciting for sure.
Yeah. So just sort of wanted to bring it back to the kind of the start. We talked about your fitness plan. I just wondered, I've heard you speak before about your diet plan and kind of the importance of kind of your calories and stuff. What kind of diet plan are you on now for this boxing? Is it kind of just, again, focus on the calories, or?
Do you know what? But I haven't measured my calories for 6 months. I'm eating very much to my appetite. If I'm hungry, I'll eat. If I'm not hungry, I won't eat. The one drastic change I've made is my balance of food, so the macros of foods. When I was doing a lot of weightlifting, it was predominantly fats and proteins, and carbs were here and there. But now it's a good 60-70% carbs, and then 20% fats, 20% proteins. It's complete the flip over. And the weird thing is, like, I'm doing hardly any weight training at the moment, and I keep putting weight on and muscle weight, which is driving me insane because I'm trying to lose weight. But it's almost like the carbs are just fueling the workouts, and my body's so absorbent at the moment. You know, I've got to respect the food. I've got to make sure I'm eating clean. I've got to make sure I'm hydrated. You'll see I'm drinking electrolytes now. We just trained this morning for a good 2 hours. So the food has always been something that I've understood, that I've taken advantage of my knowledge around it. And I think I'd be completely naive and stupid not to place emphasis on the diet and the fitness training, because ultimately that's my big advantage here. Knowing how to fuel myself, knowing how to train fitness wise, knowing how to get my body into a shape where I can be explosive, I can move, I can be at my optimum best. And then the skill set of the boxing is obviously something that's going to be secondary to me, in the sense of it's not something I've done for 25 years, but fitness I have. So, you know, my food is absolutely on point. I understand what I need to be eating. I'm eating the best of the best that I can. And I've no doubt that I'll bring something special to the table because of that. You know, if you can grasp just how important nutrition is, you'd understand why every sportsman places it at number one on the agenda.
Mm-hmm. Right. So moving on to the big event. Anyway, obviously the Hulk fight. I just wanted to ask you, first of all, how much does it mean to you for this fight? It's been in the pipeline for a while, ever since you signed kind of for the MMA promotion before. How much does this mean to you personally, settling this rivalry?
I just want to smash his head in. Do you know what? It won't give me any sense of achievement or pride to win, because I genuinely don't think he's going to bring anything to the table that's going to allow me to be you know. You can't feel good about beating up someone that's useless. But this, for me, is about settling some nonsense that's gone backwards and forwards for 2-3 years now. You know, the stuff that's been said from him and from his camp and from fans of that. And I just got to the point where I was like, oh, let's just go. Let's just have a fight. I'm not someone to take any trolling, let's call it, to heart, really. But then there's a point where it goes from trolling to just disgusting and rude, you know. And it's like, all right, no, fine. If you genuinely want to step in, I'll step up. I've never been afraid to stand my ground and to face confrontation if it's needed. And that's pretty much all this is. This is not a sporting event by any stretch of the imagination. You can't have a sporting event with someone that looks like that. Do you know what I mean? That's not a sportsman at all. And this fight for me is purely just to shut him and the other 200,000 fans of his up, and just to go there, prove done. Because then once it's done, and then it allows me to move forward.
Yeah. So you kind of alluded it to earlier. You're kind of a private guy. You don't like showing videos of sparring. I don't know if you saw, there was a video of him on his Instagram profile, and he was kind of wrestling like 3 guys and stuff like that. I just wanted to get your thoughts on that. Kind of, yeah, what did you make of it?
I was embarrassed, mate. I was genuinely embarrassed because, like, people are asking me, "Is this a real fight? Is this like a WWE thing?" I'm like, mate, no. 100% this is going off, yeah? Now, he's either an absolute genius and he's putting out this content to fool me to thinking that he's that bad, or he was conceived too close to a nuclear experiment and his head's not right. Because there's something about that, well, not just that video, like all of the videos, I just can't grasp what he's doing. Like the contract's signed, the fight's real, he knows it's going off. And then he's putting out content like that, and just confusing. What was your thoughts on it?
I mean, it was a strange one. I was taken aback. Let's put it that way. I was a bit like, oh, okay. But yeah, no, I was a bit, I mean, I'm reading the fans' comments and stuff. It was a tad confusing, to say the least. But yeah, there you go. So yeah, so kind of come back to then. You love training your MMA. You've had experience training in it for a while now. Do you think that's going to hand you an advantage, obviously, watching that kind of stuff and thinking, yeah, do you think that's going to benefit you?
100%. I mean, my heart, like genuine heart, is probably more wrestling and jiu-jitsu, as in that's what I'm good at, like, because of my size and my capabilities. And with that comes the ability to feel the opponent, to make to read the fight, when to explode, when to set off, when to move, when to take a breather, when to attack, when to go in hard, when to give them space. That's all elements that I've learned in the past with MMA that I can take into the boxing ring. It's the same thing ultimately. You're trying to lure them in, and then you're trying to react, and then you're trying to capitalize on that reaction. And that's pretty much what I feel that I've learned. And also it's being comfortable being hit, and it's being comfortable being uncomfortable. Elements that you can take from any form of fighting and adapt to another. The footwork as well is something that, I'm really appreciating and understanding the importance of getting the feet right before the hands follow. And these are all skills that are learned in all forms of martial arts, and you can transfer it. And having the mindset to go into the ring and not be scared, because it's not going to be that bad. No matter what you think, you're not going to die from a punch. Do you know what I mean? I mean, there's freak accidents that happen, but the reality is you'll get hit and you'll stand up and you'll carry on. So once you can have that mindset where you're going in relaxed, you're going in knowing what's coming, and you don't fear the unknown because you've had it before, I think that puts you in a great position. So
we've just spoken there, and you've said about it before, kind of MMA, you love it. Is that something you're going to look to fight in maybe in the future? Obviously, you're certainly not old by any means. You're in the shape of your life. Is that something that you could picture yourself doing next?
Yeah, 100%. Like for me, the MMA is something I want to test myself at. I've already spoken to KSW about this. They are more than happy to link in. I love the idea of the box star as well. So whether it's a collaboration, one on, one off, we'll see what comes. But I think there's definitely growth for me in both areas. And ultimately, as long as I can find the right opponents and give myself the right challenge, I want to carry on. I feel like I have a good 4 or 5 years shot at this. Like, genuinely do. I feel, like you said, I feel like I'm in the shape of my life. I have the right team around me. I have a good mindset. I'm stable in my life as well, in the sense that I can afford to train properly. I don't have external stresses that play on me. So I'm in a good place, and I genuinely have a passion, call it an obsession for this now. And when you get that and you have all of the other aspects in place, that's when it could, you start looking at what the possibilities are.
Yeah. So I wanted to ask your opinion on another fight now. Obviously, I'm sure you're aware that Eddie Hall and Thor are looking at fighting each other. I'm not sure what the details are about that. I presume it's going to be a rescheduled date. I just wanted to ask what your thoughts were on that and who you kind of thought would win if they do fight.
Well, I can't say anyone but Eddie, being one of my best friends.
Yeah.
Genuinely, I think if Eddie can get inside, he'll be way too powerful and explosive for Ford to handle. Ford's definitely improved as a boxer, no shadow of a doubt. The first time I watched him, I just couldn't quite grasp why or how he was going to improve, but he really has. You can't disrespect the journey that he's done and the hard work he's put in. And I respect him for that. I just think, you've got two wild individuals wild cards in the sense that they're not boxing background, but they are athletes. And I think Ford showed that with his ability to learn how to box. I think technically it's hard to see because Eddie hasn't put much out on ring control or anything really, apart from what he wants to put out. And he's doing that on purpose. That's not a coincidence. He's doing that for a reason. He is sparring. He's training ridiculously hard. And he's the type of person that if he says he's going to do something, ultimately he ends up doing it against all odds. And, some of his videos he's put out, and I'll say this as a close friend, you look at and you question the form, but power, second to none. And, Eddie's the type of guy that will win because he's so hungry and so passionate, and he's clever as well. Like, don't let the stuff that he puts out fool you. That guy is one of the hardest working men that I know, and he will come prepared 100%. I just hope he keeps it controlled because he hates Force so much that, I hope he can keep that composed and he can stay powerful. But like I said, if he gets inside, he's the strongest man in the world. If he can translate that power into his punching, which he seems confident he has been doing, I think he'll tear him a new stomach.
So have you spoken to Eddie kind of about your boxing debut, and what's he said to you about kind of what's he said to you about like getting in the ring yourself?
Who, Eddie?
Yeah.
I used to call me a big girl, mate. We have like a love-hate relationship. I love him. He hates me. He just calls me skinny and useless piece of shit, basically. He's very supporting as a friend. Do you know what I mean? He's very supporting. I did actually speak to him about this at the Arnold Classic before it was either announced or signed, and he just said, make sure whatever you do it for you and approach it properly. And he's always been supporting, and he's the type of person that if I needed the right arm, he'd lend me his. Do you know what I mean? He's heart of gold, very, very loyal to his friends, very supportive, and he'd do anything to help you on. So as far as boxing advice and that, I've not took any off him. But not because I wouldn't listen to him or respect him, purely because he's in his own camp and he's got his own style, his own form. If anything, I would probably box more like Thor, and Eddie will box more like the Hulk. Apart from Eddie would be a lot harder proposition than what the Hulk's going to be. Genuine athlete and power and movement, where the Hulk's just going to be a big, soft punch bag, in all fairness.
Yeah. So last couple ones from me. Obviously, I know you're a busy man. How much are you looking forward to being kind of at the O2 in front of however many fans, could be up to 15,000 kind of thing. How much are you looking forward to the occasion?
Yeah, I think it's still quite surreal, to be honest. I think when we step into the O2 and I look round, and this time it's me that's going to be headlining it, I think that's when it will hit. I mean, we've had great success with the pre-sales, like, you know, more so than I anticipated. So it genuinely looks like it could be a sellout, which is ridiculous when you think about it. Absolutely phenomenal, and the support around's been great. I do want to use it as a platform to help others, in a sense, give that message out that anything's possible, and especially the mental health aspect of it. Trying to use this opportunity to push something that I'm passionate about. It excites me. That excites me, and obviously the fact that we get to do it on the, you know, the great stage of the O2, where I've been many times to see other fights. So headlining it for me is kind of surreal, but also kind of expected it, in a sense that I know once I've got my teeth into something, I'm hungry for it.
Yeah. I just wanted to ask you one separate question. You said you're a fan of MMA. I don't know if you watched Francis Ngannou this weekend. I was just going to ask if obviously about Ngannou, if you thought kind of about his future's uncertain and stuff, would you think about him getting in the boxing ring?
What, me and him?
No, well, not you. Yeah, as in just in terms of getting in the boxing ring in general.
I mein, you know, he's a world champion fighter. He's a phenomenal athlete, very powerful. But him fighting, in my opinion, him fighting an average boxer, he'd still lose. And the reason I say that is because you can't disrespect the sport. You might be good at MMA, but you're taking 4 or 5 disciplines and you're only focusing on one. And you're also looking at the difference when how many rounds you fight in MMA, how many rounds you fight in boxing. These boxers aren't stupid. They know if they hide, you know, they hide behind the jab and they can go 4 or 5 rounds. That big man's going to be tired because he's going to be hungry trying to knock you out in the first 3 or 4. And we saw when Tyson fought Wilder, who's definitely got a harder, a faster, and more powerful punch than what Francis would. A good boxer can keep his range, keep his distance, and ride it out and tire them out. And that's ultimately what they do to Francis, in my opinion. I mean, I'm not saying he wouldn't win any fights, because, you know, at the end of the day, if you hit someone and you hit them hard, you could wobble and take advantage. But 9 times out of 10, I think a boxer would beat him. And that's no disrespect to Francis, because he's a phenomenal fighter. Don't get me wrong, but I think anyone in the boxing world would have the same opinion. You know, he could pull 3-4 years of training and then try and box at a level, but I still think he'd be chasing the elite in that sport.
So, final thing from me, I just wondered if you had a final message for Hulk going into this fight. What's kind of your, take the stage.
I just hope he turns up, mate. That's it. I just pray to God he turns up, because if I was him, I'd be changing my name and shaving my beard off. You know, he's opened a can of worms which he is not ready for. 100%. He didn't think this was going to happen. I don't think he thought the fight was going to happen. I don't think he thought I'd trained for it like I am. I just think he's going to be in for a world of awakening.
Cool.
I really do.
Thanks, Martyn, for your time. I really appreciate it, and good luck for April the 2nd.
Cheers, buddy. Much appreciated. You take care now.